What should I cover today? You know what? With this upcoming season of the monsters upon us, Halloween, the greatest time of the year, maybe I should cover another Friday the 13th movie. That might be a good idea. The question is, which one? Got my box set right here. I've already covered Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Jason Goes to Hell is after that, and I don't really feel like watching that one. Ho-ho! But there is Jason X on the same disc. But if Jason went to hell, where the hell could they possibly go after that? That's pretty conclusive. You'd think the story would be done. Maybe they launched him into space.
You've got to be kidding me.
I was kidding. It's kind of an unofficial rule of horror movies that if you have a long-running series with a bunch of sequels and you want to make more and you just have no idea where to go, but you want to keep milking that titty dry, ultimately you have three options. You come up with some kind of crossover with another series that needs to stay alive. We've seen that happen before. You go to the hood, seen that a couple of times. Or you go to space, the final frontier. And that finally happened with Jason X in 2002 United States. And speaking of crossovers, a crossover is the only reason that Jason X even exists. Two of the biggest names in slasher flicks, Freddy and Jason, eventually would come to blows in Freddy vs. Jason. But that movie was first imagined in 1987, and it was in development hell from that time all the way until it was released. By the late 1990s, the studios were already running out of ideas. They wanted to keep Friday the 13th going, so they were just like, listen, we need to make something so people don't forget about Jason, so people don't forget about Friday the 13th. We need to keep it fresh in people's minds. And Jason X co-writer Todd Farmer conceived the new story, who also plays the character of Dallas in it. It was the only pitch he gave the studio. Let's send him into space.
Todd Farmer came in one day to the office and pitched me on this idea of, what about Jason in space?
They said okay, signed the check, and here we are in 2021 talking about this movie, and oh my, is it something. In their defense, they did at this point do everything you possibly do with Jason, right? He left Crystal Lake, he went to Manhattan, he took a trip to hell, he was even on a talk show.
I saw the new movie, Jason Takes Manhattan. You killed 16 people. I'd like to thank you for coming by. It's a pleasure. I don't know why I'm laughing, man. You killed 16 people, and you were responsible for the death of 8 others. Total, that's less than what you usually kill in a movie. Are you getting soft? Are you losing a step? So what's next, man?
What else can you do? Although when the movie came out, it was pretty much blasted with overwhelmingly negative reviews, and was one of the worst performing movies in the entire Friday the 13th saga. But even with all that, there is a charm to Jason X. There's still that factor that makes me pop it in every once in a while and enjoy it. Yes, it's terrible, and the entire premise is absurd. And the acting is so Oscar award-winning that you can't help but just watch this movie in sheer awe. The sheer awe of, I can't believe this actually is real. This actually happened. It's quite literally Friday the 13th.
In space.
Before Jason X, the last time we saw Jason was in Jason Goes to Hell, where the whole supernatural aspect of Jason really went crazy. It was completely out of control. It's such a bizarre movie. He ends up being stabbed by some magical dagger, gets sucked up underground by a bunch of monster hands. He gets taken down to hell, hence the name Jason Goes to Hell. And in the final shot, we get that official tease for Freddy versus Jason. Freddy's hand comes up and grabs Jason's mask. The audience goes crazy. Us audience members were just ready for the upcoming Freddy vs. Jason. Except it didn't happen. Not for a really long time. Instead, we got this. It was a little jarring, like, what the hell is this? Where's Freddy vs. Jason? I remember actually seeing the movie with my mom, too, because I was 15 when it came out. I wasn't old enough to watch rated R movies in theaters yet, so I dragged my mom to the theater to watch it with me and one of my friends. And I could have just easily bought a ticket for like a PG-13 movie and then snuck in, and actually, I don't know why I didn't do that. But let's answer the most important question here. How did Jason end up in space? Jason X takes place, at least it starts off, in the far off future. The year 2008. Jason has been killing campers all these years. Now Crystal Lake, in addition to a campground, has a Crystal Lake research facility where Jason's being kept. God, if this sounds like really bad fan fiction, I apologize. That's just the story of the movie. I'm not making any of it up. It does sound like bad fan fiction, though. Oh yeah, and Jason's back from hell, too. It's never explained how, at all. In most every Friday the 13th movie, they actually do explain how Jason pops back up, even if it's something as goofy as a lightning bolt bringing him back to life. At least they explain it. Here they just don't. But Jason Goes to Hell did happen, because at the beginning of Jason X, the entire intro sequence looks very hellish, so I guess they're acknowledging the previous movie. And I guess he just sort of regenerated somewhere and they captured him. And I gotta say, this Jason is one of the most normal looking ones. Yeah, I mean, he's still a little disfigured, his eyes a little droopy, but he's not this rotting corpse monster zombie thing that we've seen before. He just looks like a guy. They don't really spend a lot of time here in this section of the movie, since this research facility is just for the intro to the rest of the story, and the whole set looks incredibly cheaply built. I swear they just threw some props in an empty parking garage somewhere and turned off the lights. You would never know that this was a special Jason researching facility if the movie didn't tell you that. And this is where the movie is more of a Resident Evil / sci-fi kind of thing, more so than Friday the 13th. The government captured Jason and are trying to figure out how to kill him. They've tried hanging him, they've used firing squads, several forms of execution, but Jason just won't die. Now, you could say at this point exactly what I thought watching this movie. Why didn't they try cremating him or chopping his head off or something? I mean, that definitely would have worked. But, I don't know, I guess then we wouldn't have a Jason X movie, would we? In typical I saw that coming from a mile away fashion, the government doesn't want to kill Jason. They want to study his ability to regenerate and survive wounds and replicate it.
What are you doing here?
I'm taking the specimen.
Well, you can't. I haven't prepped the cryostasis chamber.
I don't want him frozen, Rowan. I want him soft.
We've already discussed this.
And I'm about to spoil this entire movie for you. You ready? Jason escapes. And he kills people.
What the hell?
It needs to be said, these kills at the beginning are incredibly lazy and uninspired. As the Friday the 13th series went on, it did have some imaginative kills, but it's just not here. I mean, this guy just gets thrown through a door, and they really don't get much better throughout the movie. Maybe one or two are kind of cool, but it's almost as if they were trying to shoot for a PG-13 rating for half the movie, and then decided, screw it, let's just go with an R rating. The main character of the movie is a young scientist working in the Crystal Lake Research Facility named Rowan LaFontaine. I like to mention her last name because it's kind of funny that the actress playing her didn't even seem to know what her last name was.
Okay, I play Rowan, who doesn't seem to have a last name, but that could be her last name. I have no idea.
And until I started working on this video, it didn't hit me that Talia al Ghul from Arrow and Rowan from Jason X are the same person. Had no clue that was her, and I've seen that entire show. After Jason slaughters all the military people, Rowan has her own Jason chase and she barely survives, leading him to a 2008 future tech cryogenic freezing chamber. End of movie, Jason's dead, right? Nope. We find out that almost 500 years pass, and now we're in the year 2455. The movie has a massive time jump, and by this time everything's different. There's no more Crystal Lake, in fact there's no more Earth, pretty much. The entire planet's inhospitable due to ecological disasters that were never really elaborated. The whole planet's just a wasteland. So humanity lives on another planet now, creatively named Earth 2. Although Earth 1 is a mess, it seems that things have advanced fairly well for humanity on Earth 2. They have all sorts of advanced technology. If you lose a limb, for example, now it's life-changing. In the year 2455, it's a minor inconvenience. You simply glue it back on with some early 2000s CG.
Oh shit! I forgot my arm.
Yeah, here you go, dumbass.
Hi, Dan.
Stay still, or you'll end up getting an elbow where your wrist should be.
And the future also has human-like androids, like one of our other main characters, KM14, that wants to be more realistic. I can't show you the scene because it involves titties, and YouTube's not going to like that, but yeah, this robot wants to be more realistic, so the guy that is maintaining the robot, Thomas, he creates realistic chest appendages to it. And his latest creation, he creates some nipples for her, represented by this bottle cap, and he's kind of attaching it to her female appendage, like this, and then it falls off.
Jason in space.
And they also have VR technology for video games and graphics that have not drastically improved over the centuries, but I will give it a pass here, since the technology the video games use are basically holograms that bleed out into the real world. We don't have that yet. That's kind of cool, actually. I would play that.
I thought this was an alien sim.
Yeah, it is. I think we need to reboot. Ah! That does not count as a kill.
Yes, it does. Okay, screw this. Game over.
I especially love how the future still uses LCD screens with clear colored shells. All the rage in the early 2000s, those clear translucent shells that came in all sorts of vibrant colors were everywhere back then. Computers, game consoles, home phones. If you were in the early 2000s, you had something that had this. And oh yeah, hockey was also banned in the future too.
Can someone tell me what's on his face?
Some kind of 20th century carbon filtration unit?
It's a hockey mask. Very good, Sonoran.
What's a hockey mask? Facial armor. Used in a sport outlawed in 2024.
It was banned in 2024, so hockey fans, if you're watching this, you have about 3 more years left to enjoy your sport. And Jason X's future also tries to awkwardly be like Demolition Man. In that movie, we know there was some kind of franchise war where Taco Bell won, and now every restaurant's Taco Bell. It's this classic stupid little side plot. In here, they throw in some reference to the Microsoft conflict.
Hey. You're lucky you weren't alive during the Microsoft conflict. Hell, we were beating each other with our own severed limbs.
It's nice.
It just doesn't have the same impact. Really weird that was thrown in. It's not memorable at all, and they don't really play on that later in the movie like Demolition Man did. And students traveling on the spaceship Grendel on some sort of scientific field trip find Rowan and Jason frozen and take them back to the ship. They wake her up, and it's such an awkward scene. Watching this, I just thought to myself, this is going on for a really long time. As she slowly awakens, I feel they could have easily cut at least 10 seconds of this scene during editing, and it would have been fine. And I don't know what it is with these future and space horror movies. There's always some sort of asshole that's trying to make a profit behind the scenes. Aliens had that same character. This time it's Professor Lowe, the teacher in charge of the whole expedition. He realizes that having the unkillable Jason Voorhees as some kind of attraction can make him rich. And somehow 400 plus years in the future, people from another planet still know or care who Jason Voorhees even is.
2 400-year-old frozen specimens. One well preserved, the other one, are you ready for this? Up and walking around.
Who cares? Who gives a shit?
I need money.
I know. The other viable is marked Voorhees. That's not Jason Voorhees, is it?
What do you know about him?
He killed nearly 200 people and simply disappeared without a trace. But to the right buyer, he could be worth a fortune.
I've got him frozen right here on the ship.
Guys! It's okay, he just wanted his machete back!
There's not really anything I could say to spoil this movie for you. If you have any sort of horror movie competence, you know exactly how this movie is going to go from here. Jason unfreezes, comes back to life, and spends about an hour picking off people one by one, while Rowan has to survive in her unfamiliar future. All very predictable. And here's a quick fun fact. This kill right here was actually one of the most imaginative ones in the movie. Probably the most imaginative one in the movie. And it made such an impact. It made such an impact in the world of slasher flicks that even Mythbusters took it on just to see if it was even possible. If a human head's frozen like that, would it actually break like this? They determined that it wouldn't, but however, we are dealing with future technology and Jason Voorhees' super strength, so I argue the contrary. Besides the main character Rowan and maybe one or two others, nobody else matters. They're all one-dimensional machete fodder victims that are here just to increase Jason's body count. And yeah, you can say that about any Friday the 13th movie, but at least in some of the older ones, they were entertaining in some sort of way. Even if they weren't important characters, they at least had one or two things that made them slightly interesting. Almost everyone in Jason X is just bland. Some characters die right away before you really know anything about them. You even have the stereotypical sex-obsessed chick that sleeps around and flirts with everybody, including the professor, in some really strange activities. And I don't know what the hell's going on. Just look, I don't know how to explain this.
A little harder?
Yeah.
How's that?
Oh,
Yeah?
yeah, that's it.
That's it right there?
Oh, yeah.
Come on!
You pass!
The strength of these movies has never been its human characters, though. It's all about Jason, and Jason is awesome as always. Any longtime fan will immediately recognize this Jason as the legendary Kane Hodder. You can always tell when he's playing Jason just because of his movements. He's mastered the role of Jason, and he absolutely loves playing the role. He's got the presence just nailed down.
Here we are again. I love playing the character, so I'm happy to be back. It's a good story, some creative kills. Good violence, which we all love. I enjoy playing the character, so.
He terrifies me. When he's Jason, absolutely frightens me.
As over the top and goofy this movie is, Jason was genuinely well done. He doesn't care about where he is, he doesn't care what year he woke up in. He just grabbed a brand new knife and wants to destroy everyone he can find. No motives, no explanations needed. He is just Jason doing what Jason does. Everyone's running around screaming, trying to get away from him, and sometimes Jason doesn't even need to reach them to kill them. Some people just panic and make stupid decisions on their own without requiring him. And of course, what futuristic student field trip spaceship doesn't have its own special military force to keep resurrected Jason-style threats at bay?
Dallas not here yet? Nope. You, Briggs, find him, bring him up to speed. Hondo, you got a BFG? You're with me.
Was that a Doom reference? They totally just mentioned the BFG.
Hondo, you got a BFG? You're with me.
Well, even with the BFG, the military doesn't stand much of a chance against Jason. I remember the days when Jason got killed at the end of the movie by simply hanging him by his neck from a barn. In Jason X, the military lights him up. He quite literally is unstoppable. Bullets, karate moves, nothing stops this man. I mean, karate moves even stopped Michael Myers at one point. Nothing stops Jason.
It's gonna take more than a poke in the ribs to put down this old dog. Yeah, that ought to do it.
For the rest of the movie, the goal to survive here is getting to the nearby space station and letting the military inside there handle Jason. Although we've already seen that's pointless, but Jason killed the star pilot, so they just careen right through the station. I actually like this scene a lot because I don't think this was all CG. Some of that set actually looks practical, and I really like that. It looks like models.
It's all right. We just overshot it. We'll turn around and go back.
The only hope left now is to call for some emergency help and stop Jason however they can. And since the strongest person with the students is an android, Thomas gives her some upgrades in a ridiculous scene where she also lights Jason up and blows him up into little pieces. Couldn't they have just done this in the past? Instead, they decided to create this entire research facility to try to study how to kill him. Just get bigger guns, man. Oh yeah, and Brodsky, the commander, he's still alive. They fixed him with some more CG, and he's all better now. If you thought that was the end of Jason, you're wrong. With less than 20 minutes left in the movie, we get introduced to one of the genuinely coolest Friday the 13th things of all time. Jason X himself, or as he's fondly come to be known as, Uber Jason, or as I like to call him, Super Shredder Jason. Jason gets repaired and upgraded, and Uber Jason is this cybernetic beast with a badass costume and metallic parts. The character design is just outstanding. He's part machine, he's part Jason, but all power. It seems that all hope is lost. This new Jason is unstoppable, even more so than he already was. The survivors are waiting for help to come evacuate them, so Thomas thinks of a hilarious idea. Why don't we trick Jason by making a hologram of 1980s Crystal Lake and make him think he's back home? That way he can kill a bunch of hologram campers instead of us. Which results in the most hilarious kill of all time. I guess it counts as a kill because he's not actually killing anybody real. But I mean, this is 5-star humor right here. The infamous sleeping bag kill.
Okay.
Here goes nothing.
Initiate.
Hey, you want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
He's done with the campers.
Wow, he's good.
Eventually, Jason realizes that he's being bamboozled and made a fool of, and makes his way to the little emergency shuttle before the survivors can escape, and he explodes. But classic horror movie rules state, if there is no body, killer's still alive.
He's coming this way.
You gotta be kidding me. Brodsky. Look at that.
Shooting star.
Like a shooting star, Jason disintegrates in the atmosphere of Earth 2, and we see his mask peacefully lay in the lake, and Jason X is over. Or is it? Let me go ahead and tell you something that absolutely blew my mind that I discovered making this video. Jason X, this movie that was completely meant as this one-time filler until Freddy vs. Jason came out, actually has some sort of lasting legacy. The story actually continued in a comic book. I had no idea. There is actually a comic book sequel to the movie. Let's call it Jason X 2. Let me know in the comments if you want me to cover these comics in more detail in a later video, maybe in an Untold Legends episode. But at the end of the movie, Jason didn't really land on Earth 2, as we were led to believe. It was Earth 1 with a hologram over it to make it look like Earth 2. Everyone left on Earth are androids, and this lady, one of the last humans left, found out about Jason and manipulated the Grendel to come to Earth 1 so she can capture Jason and study his regeneration powers. And again, I'm just giving you the general outline of this thing. She wants her sick husband to use Jason's tissue sample to get his regeneration powers. That way they can survive and make a family like an Adam and Eve type scenario so humans can thrive again. Then Jason gets blasted off into space again. Since her husband was injected with one of his tissue samples, apparently, he takes the personality of Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mother, and kills them both. None of this makes sense, but it's a comic book. Then Jason's adventures continue in another comic series called Friday the 13th, Jason vs. Jason X. This one I would not mind seeing adapted into a live action movie because it was kinda awesome. Jason's rocket lands on some sort of space cruise ship around Earth 2's orbit, and he goes to town on the people inside as expected. But back on the Grendel, a piece of Jason's original face floats into this machine that begins another regeneration process, this time grabbing organic material from the surrounding area. So now there's two Jasons and they both share this mental link. It's crazy. This new Uber Jason and the original Jason end up on the same ship, competing for victims, and run into each other, turning into a classic brawl where they just spend panel after panel fighting each other for supremacy, the ultimate Jason supremacy. Who is the ultimate Jason? By the end, the ship crashes on actual Earth 2, and Uber Jason wins the battle, but not before removing classic Jason's brain and then sticking it in his head where it gets absorbed inside of him. And then he regains all the memories of classic Jason. What the hell? Including the ability to hear Pamela Voorhees talking to him. It's amazing. These comics need to be adapted into a movie. They're far more interesting than the story given to us in Jason X. But that's not all I discovered. There was actually a set of 5 novels. Like fully written books, full novels about Jason X and a bunch of side stories. Someone actually took the time to flesh out this Jason X universe. I'm actually kind of curious to see how much they go for, like if you could still get them on Amazon or something. Let's take a look. What? $1,200. Please, I beg of you, for the love of everything holy, do not spend $1,200 or anywhere remotely close to $1,200 on any of these books. I promise you it's not worth it. It can't be worth it. And that is Jason X in all of its glory. As much as I make fun of these movies, I think they're important to have still. We need these dumb popcorn flicks where we could just sit there and watch it with our brains turned off and just enjoy the stupidity. Jason X is over the top, it's dumb, it's ridiculous, but it knows it, and it fully embraces it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the biggest tragedy that came out of all this was the cut content from Friday the 13th, the game. It's so much fun to play with other players, but the game was ruined because the screenwriter of the original Friday the 13th movie opened up a lawsuit about profits from the series. It doesn't even have anything to do with the game, but as it always does, legal matters ruin something good, and the game was caught in the crossfire. There was planned downloadable content adding in Jason X content, including the map of the Grendel and Uber Jason. At least it looks like the PC modding community came in to save the day and modded the game to include some of the unfinished Jason X content. And shout out to channel iAnthonyD, if I pronounced that right, which is where I got this footage from right here. I'll link his video in the description below if you want to see the whole gameplay footage. It looks awesome, and it's a damn shame that this is never going to get an official release. And again, leave me a comment down below if you want me to detail those Jason X sequel comic books. And what are your thoughts overall on Jason X, Jason's Space Adventure?
What about Jason in space? What are you, nuts?
If you'd like to support my work, I invite you to become a patron so you can get access to my Patreon feed, filled with exclusive updates and progress reports on videos. You can also choose to become a channel member and gain access to exclusive polls, deciding what games are going to be streamed, moderator privileges, badges, and emojis for live chat. And I'd like to thank my current patrons and channel members for their continued support. If you enjoyed this video and want more like this, hit the like button, subscribe and click the bell for all notifications, and make sure you follow me on social media so you never miss a thing. Catch you guys later.